Good morning, guys. The year was 79 AD, and the northern Mediterranean was a generally nice place to live. We had a climate a lot like California. People were growing things like garlic and onions, cabbages, olives. The Roman Empire ruled all this area, all of the Mediterranean, as well as Western Europe, as well as most of England. Okay, it wouldn't have been so nice if you were a slave, but if you were wealthy, you would have access to things like libraries and sports, arts and culture. There would be great entertainment. There would be theater. They even had really wealthy people paying for free entertainment. Things like, would you like to see an elephant battle a rhinoceros? You could do that. It would have been around lunchtime and you'd be setting out plates for lunch. But then something happened with the Earth's plates. The Earth's tectonic plates shifted. One slipped over the other and caused a massive earthquake. The entire surface of the Earth is covered in plates. Pieces of land that move side to side and across each other, and when they rub against each other, they cause friction and they cause what we call earthquakes. Below the surface of the Earth, there are layers of rock. And further down you go, you get more and more molten rock. And that rock was under a great deal of pressure because it has a great deal of heat. We've talked about heat and states of matter. Hot things want to expand. If you are crowded in on all sides, that heat makes it want to expand and go up. The volcano called Vesuvius started to get really great deal of pressure, and it blasted out lots of blobs of hot molten rock, raining down ash. But a lot of the ash that hadn't rained down yet was up in the atmosphere. It went up to 12 miles high. And as that ash and particles of dust and dirt was up there in the atmosphere, it was blocking out the sun, and it quickly turned the sky from midday bright and sunny to midnight dark. Then the ash started to settle back down. And as it fell down, making a thick layer about 6 inches every hour. If you were sitting down, you were going to get buried. People that were napping died in their sleep. You tried to escape, and a lot of people did, but thousands died. People that were left behind were either burned or suffocated by the toxic gases. It got hot too. That ash that's falling brought with it heat, and that heat reached up to 968 degrees Fahrenheit. The people burned in that ash were remarkably well preserved. Not too long ago, we discovered that some of the bodies had material that turned to glass. As the ash covered them, they started to cook and preserve themselves, so they were cut off from any oxygen. The oxygen would have caused rotting and breaking down of those materials, and it didn't. It actually preserved them, creating a fossil. And over time, those body parts, the cells of your actual body, were replaced with chemicals from the ashes. It changed them chemically, but not structurally. This week, a report came out studying the brain of a young man, 20 years old, who died in Herculaneum, a city about 4 miles away from the volcano. They can actually see his brain cells from the fossil that was made when he was covered in ash. Remember how we studied that an atom is the smallest particle of one of these elements? Well, a cell is the smallest particle of any living organism. So we have lots of different types of cells. They come in lots of different shapes and sizes. We've got, these are little stuffies of cell shapes. This is a bone cell. This is hair cell. This is a muscle cell. And this is what a nerve cell looks like. A nerve cell has all these little frilly things at the end because these are like the wires that are connecting one nerve cell to another because it needs to send messages all the way down the line. We get to see this young man's nerve cells over 2,000 years later because he's been preserved. The parts of the brain were replaced with parts of the rock, and over time the brain became entirely rock. We call this fossilization. Usually when we think of fossils, we're thinking of things that are really, really old, maybe millions of years old, plants and animals that were replaced in this manner. But this is something that's relatively recently, only about 2,000 years ago, and he was fossilized. Now, we can't just take a look at this rock and see his brain cells. It's going to be microscopic, but by using scanning electron microscopy, as well as some extra enhanced editing techniques, we can actually make out out what his brain cells look like. It's something we haven't been able to do before. Check out these links to learn a little bit more about brains and volcanoes. Have a great day, guys.